Incredible day to you all. Welcome into the SitRep for today. It is what are we at? 11th of February, 2023. And it is currently 34 minutes past 11 in the AM here on the Australian Eastern Standard Time. No, wait, Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. Yeah, figure that one out. Thank you for joining me. Really appreciate it as always. Obviously, I've been a little busy and I haven't done one in a couple of days. A lot of news. Like to give you an example, the news channels that I follow, the media sources that I'm tracking. I opened up this morning and I hadn't opened it in a couple of days. I was working yesterday, and there was in one of them 480 messages. There was another one had 173, another one had 110. So like this morning mainly spent holding a very small child, flicking through while she was asleep, flicking through lots and lots of stuff. But I've just let a whole heap of stuff go because it's some of it's interesting, some of it's a bit redundant. I will also say this at the start. I'm going to lead off with two really big stories. One is about a UFO that was just shot down. Don't think ET yet. Just UFO is just a technical term, unidentified, right? The other one's about fuel prices, and then I'll get into some other stuff. I'm not really going to touch on the earthquakes today. I have a torrent of information about the earthquakes that one of my sources, my main source, in fact, on Instagram, has been very generously sharing with me. And I've looked at it and I said, you know what, I need to pick through this because there are so many lessons learned. We can do like a 72-hour lessons learned after an emergency from what's going on in Turkey and Syria at the moment. So I'm going to just sort of pause on that. I will touch on it with a bit of tinfoil hat today story, but mainly I'm going to stick to other stuff that's going on. All right, let's jump into Alpha on YouTube. Boom to you, like that. Commie Hunter, how you going, mate? Good to see you. I'll be on YouTube watching, taking a break off IG. I'm never going to argue with anyone taking a break from Instagram or any social media or any internet or any electronic device. I think it's something that people should seriously consider doing regularly, taking a break for it. But thank you very much for joining me on YouTube or on Instagram if you happen to be joining me on Instagram, or if you're listening to this a little bit later on the podcast version. Okay, without any further ado, let's get into it. The big story that's popping off this morning is, sorry, I just got a message saying somebody was going to grab a coffee, which means I've only got 20 minutes to do this, 23 minutes. So I'm going to hurry this one up. US military shot down an unidentified high-altitude object the size of a small car over Alaska. That was earlier this morning, Australian time. It's their afternoon on the Pacific. It's just north of Alaska. I looked at where it was shot down, just sitting off the north coast. It is in American airspace and what would you call it, marine space. So, that's within their realm of possibilities, what they can do. It's, I guess, technically what they're allowed to do if they wanted to do. They said, I just watched, just before I jumped on here, watched the press conference that's just come out about it, where they were reiterating some of the information. And some of the key points were that they said, the general said, I didn't catch the general's name, but this was a Pentagon briefing to the White House. It was a threat. They deemed it a threat to people in America. So that's a pretty broad, thing to say, I guess. It's a threat, but they deemed it a threat. So that's them justifying why they've shot it down, I guess. I was following some other sources who were actually tracking some of the planes, and they had at least one surveillance plane going out and around there. They said it was an F-22 that shot it down. Now, the information about it itself, apparently, allegedly, it was at 40,000 feet. So if we compare this to what we saw with the balloon recently, that was at 60,000 feet. So significantly lower than the balloon was. So potentially, I think that might be into the process what they're thinking when they're saying it's a threat, because it's actually closer to the ground, not close to the ground. Also, what they've said, what the actual press conference came out, they said it was a cylindrical shaped car-sized object that is not consistent or in any way similar to the balloon that they shot down last week. In an earlier conference, and I did not see this, I have not witnessed this conference. I saw this as a report that somebody was talking about this conference. So take it for what that is, secondhand information, that I saw a news report on this that said, in a gaffe, the general said, this other balloon, this unidentified object. So he actually said this other balloon, which made people think, oh, this is another Chinese balloon. What they've come out now very much has countered that. They've said, no, look, it is not consistent with what we shot down the other week with Chinese surveillance balloon. So that's what's going on there. DG Coder on YouTube says, why is there no videos? I'm not being a grammar Nazi, right? I'm just thinking in my head, is it why are there no videos? Is that the correct sense? Is that the correct sentence? Anyway, why are there no videos of it being shot down? Potentially because it is a relatively uninhabited place where it got shot down. Plus, it got shot down, like I said, north of Alaska in the US airspace, in US marine zone. So it's not actually overland. So the original, so for those who don't know, the way that the original, the Chinese spy balloon got seen was, I don't have this 100% correct. It was a reporter or a photographer who stepped out, was looking up at the sky because that's what he does. He photographs stuff in the sky, and he said, this looks odd, and got an extremely powerful lens to actually zoom in, and then looked at the picture and went, that's not a planet. That's not a satellite. That looks like a balloon. And he sent that around from there. And that obviously, that's how people cottoned on to that particular thing. So it would require that you can see there's quite a few coincidences that happen, or quite a few circumstances that happen for us to actually find out about that Chinese spy balloon. Remember that we know that the US government was not going to tell anyone about it. Their intention was just to let it slide under the radar. As it was, it didn't happen because somebody like that actually caught it on an extremely powerful camera. So chances are there was no one with that kind of technology in and around this area. But I don't know that. I haven't seen any videos. It could be videos out there. Faulkner Sealock says, I can't find anything live about this. I just watched a live briefing. I think this was on Atlas News, which is a Instagram channel and a Telegram channel, Atlas News. You can check them out. I've also seen it on Real News No Bullshit on Disclose.tv or Disclose TV. And what other sources were there? There was a couple of other sources that I've seen it on. So check those guys out if you want to see some more about this. All right. So I had a chat to a mate this morning. He was out at a new skate park and his kids were out there. So I was scooting around with him on one of the kids' scooters. And he said, did you see this thing about this thing that's been shot down? And I said, yeah, it looks like just another Chinese balloon or something. Or my take on it was that it's some sort of hoax, that somebody's capitalized on the attention that's going in airspace at the moment and has just flown a huge balloon up in the air just to fuck around. And that's what it was. Now, I will admit, I'm curious, all right? I'm not a diehard believer in aliens, but I'm not a denier in aliens. I think, it's as likely that they exist and are here than they are not, or they don't exist. So it's piqued my interest. I'll put it that way. So that's why I'm leading off with this story. Anyway, we'll see what comes out of this. Could be an interesting one. Like I said, I feel like this might be something to do with a hoax, with somebody just putting something up there. We shall find out. All right, second biggest story that I'm going to talk about today. Like I said, I don't have a whole heap of time this morning, unfortunately, so I'm going to try and whip through this in about 20 minutes. Russia's come out and said that they're going to cut oil production. They're cutting it by 500,000 barrels today, which I think is about 5% of their production. So news of that comes out. Obviously, anyone who's curtailing or shrinking oil production at this point is going to have ripples in the wider market. That's going to increase fuel price. that's going to increase oil per barrel, which will increase fuel price. So that's why I'm leading. This is the second story off the rank, because it actually affects us. If you drive a vehicle, if you operate any machinery that requires fuel, this is going to affect you. The price will go up at the pump. I can guarantee it. So that news came out instantaneously. Crude oil went up. I think it might have been below 80 at the time. I wasn't really tracking where it is, but it's definitely like as just before I jumped on, I checked it, and it was about $86 a barrel. So still gone up. That's not the worst part yet. So we haven't felt that at the Bowser yet. I was going to go fill up this morning, and I forgot to do it. So probably this afternoon, hopefully it hasn't gone up, and I'll go fuel up my vehicle and fill a couple of jerrys that I used the other day, rotating my stocks. Something that I recommend people do, have a bit of fuel on hand. So yeah, fuel price is about to go up if it hasn't already. If you can get in ahead of the curve here, grab yourself some jerrys, fill up a jerry or two while it's at a lower price now. So then you can use that while we're going through high. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. It could go up and stay up, but that's what we're seeing. 5% reduction in oil production in Russia increases price by, I don't know, maybe $10 a barrel. It's already gone up. I'm not really sure, but that'll come. You can guarantee that's coming to the Bowser. All right, that's coming to you and me. So get your fuel. On top of this, Russia's actually come out and said that they will not supply oil products, petroleum, diesel, like refined products or unrefined products to any country that is utilizing price capping on their fuel at the moment. So if you haven't been keeping up with this as part of the sanctions that, if you've ever heard me talk about it, I don't think they're a great idea anymore. As part of these kind of sanctions idea, a lot of countries have got together and said, we're going to force a cap on Russian fuel prices. Anything coming out of Russia can only be bought at this much. So they can only get this much money out of it. Russia's just turned around and said, fine, if you want to do that, you get zero. So you can cap it all you want, but you're not getting any fuel. That is going to have much, much larger effects on fuel prices than just them curtailing 5% of production. That one was subtle. That one wasn't hitting front page of newspaper sort of stuff, and neither was the first one, but front page of financial newspaper sort of stuff. But it is under the radar, and it's going to have much bigger effects, and I think much more long-lasting effects. But that is definitely going to drag the price up, especially in places that are going along with these asinine sanctions, i.e. Australia, i.e. New Zealand. So if you're an Aussie in New Zealand, get on this right now. Like, put down your phone, stop listening to me right now, and get some fuel. Get some jerrys of fuel. Seriously, I'm going to go do that this afternoon. I've got some things lined up. Got some friends from a mutual assistance group coming over. They're in the process of getting their firearms license, so I'm going to take them through cleaning, stripping weapons, what a weapon is, all the different parts of it, so that when they do the testing, they're in the best state in which to do it. They're fully learned up, as it were. So subtle little hint there for everyone: get your firearms license, and form a mutual assistance group if you can, of friends in your local area or people that are like-minded, and share your knowledge, share your skills around, not just your family, not just your mutual assistance groups or your friends or people like that, just into your community. Start to really share this stuff around. One thing on top of this sort of stuff that I've also been doing recently is doing community and small group friends sort of stuff that I've also been doing recently is doing community and small group friends, working out in the gym, doing fitness sort of stuff. Fitness is my shtick. In case you haven't heard this before, if you haven't listened to me before, I think fitness is one of the most overlooked preps that any prepper can do. I watch a lot of prepper content, a lot of stuff on YouTube, and that some people are really fit, really onto this. They've worked out the mindset, they've worked out the physical sort of stuff. They got the gear, they got all that, and then there's people who just go straight to gear and forget all that stuff that you need to build as a foundation. So build that sort of stuff. Fitness is a big thing. Anyway, I said I was going to be quick on this. I've only got 6 more minutes. UN chief warns the war with Ukraine and Russia is escalating to a wider war with other nations. Says prospect of peacekeeping diminishing. I don't know what crack this dude is on. Like, has he only just figured this out? And what is he talking about peacekeeping? Are the UN and NATO still trying to angle this as peacekeeping? Because it's a war. I don't know how they could plant it any other way in their head. And also, yeah, no shit, Sherlock, that this is going to be a prolonged war that's going to bust outside the borders of what we think it is. It's going to do that because of what you're doing, because of what the United Nations doing, because of what the European nations are doing, the EU nations, because of what NATO is doing, because of what every other country that wants to slap a Ukraine flag up on its profile is doing right now by pumping money, by pumping arms into this conflict instead of seeking alternatives. So at the moment, the only thing they're looking at is exacerbating this war, is increasing the conflict within this zone, as opposed to looking for other solutions like peace talk. Like, is there a compromise we can meet? Because when you increase this war, there's only two ends when we increase this war. Russia loses. They get pushed on the back foot. Ukraine has to force their way into Russia to cripple them, to put them down. Russia drops nukes. Or Russia wins, which will then increase NATO's standing to actually go into direct conflict with Russia, and then Russia drops nukes. I can't, like, if you can see some other way around that eventuality, please let me know. But that's what I'm seeing in this conflict at the moment, and I don't see a lot of sane, rational people going like, "Hey, can we just pump the brakes on this? How about we go back to the peace talks? How about we look at the moment compromising for a time, and we'll do something else. We'll sit down and see if we can talk about this. We can see if we can arbitrate this in some way." There's none of that. So anyway, that's what the UN's saying. Where is this one coming from? I can't quite read this. I do apologize. It is a major publication, but so it's a major publication. It is mainstream media-esque. None of the big ones, but like one of your more, I think it's one of your financial ones or something. Apologies that I don't have the source here. But here's the title. US bombed Nord Stream gas pipelines, claims investigative journalist Seymour Hersh. Again, a bit of it like, well, the smoking gun has always been there. If you look at motivation, if you look at means and motivation, those two things, which you would do in an investigation, to me, looking at it from the outside, I go, well, who has the means and who has the strongest motivation? US is by far the winner here to take out Nord Stream. So it seems like it's relatively obvious, but what is not obvious, or what has not happened before, is a mainstream media source actually saying that. So interesting that is coming out now. See what fallout there comes from that. But yeah, I find that quite interesting. Just another quick couple of stories that I'm going to talk about. First off, people in the UK. UK created this one, coming to me from a main source on Instagram. UK created a department dedicated to net zero. Households and businesses will be pushed to slash their energy use by 15% by the newly created Department of Energy Security and Net Zero. I don't know if you've listened to me before, or if you've been paying attention to the news at all coming out of the UK. They're not exactly doing real fine and dandy when it comes to energy right now. People are suffering. In fact, I've talked about these news stories where emergency services, ambulance officers, and even hospitals and doctors are coming out and saying, we are seeing increased death, and it is due to people being energy poor, i.e. they cannot heat their homes, i.e. they cannot cook food. So we're already seeing people dying from it. We're seeing more disease come in for people who can't fight it because they're the sickly kind of, usual sheeple who need a stable temperature all the time in order to keep their immune system okay. And all of a sudden it's dropping down. They're getting that shock. And so they're seeing more illness. They're seeing more death. Well, they've just said 15% more is what you're going to need. Why? So you can do the right thing. Don't be a selfish prick. Toe the line with the rest of your comrades. Fellow citizens. Yeah, this isn't communism. This is just socialism light. All right. That's all it is. And it's nice. We're doing the right thing, remember? We're doing the right thing, Greta. Please don't yell at me. Yeah. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I love green stuff. I love the green idea. I move towards it personally, but I do it from a point of solidity. I want to know that I can actually get there. I don't just jump, throw out all my vehicles, throw out all my technology, throw out everything and go, right, I'll figure out a way. I know that you need to have your hand firmly on one branch, and then when you reach and grab the other one, you can let go. What we're doing at the moment is we're letting go and going, where is that green magic technology? Oh shit, solar doesn't work. Oh shit, wind's not enough. Oh shit, hydro's not enough. Not enough countries can do it. And we're about to start falling. And that fall looks like people. Wind's not enough. Oh shit, hydro's not enough. Not enough countries can do it. And we're about to start falling. And that fall looks like people dying en masse. Germany could be next to bring back conscription. This one I find really interesting. I had a number of people over the past year, when the Ukraine war kicked off, a couple of close friends messaged me, but then more and more people would throw this in somewhere. And especially when I ask a question on Instagram, this usually comes in by one or two people in various different forms. What do you think the chance is of conscription? And I say, like in Australia, like not high, not very high at all. But I reserve the right to change my mind about shit when new information comes in. I think all people should be able to do that. All right. I'm not married to my ideas. I'm not married to anything that I say. I can change my mind. And as human beings, we need to realize that. I get shit wrong. Or what was right here is no longer right. Changed. Adaptability, not being right all the time. This is one of those things where I've gone like, no chance conscription. There's not enough taste for it within the public. We wouldn't stand it. Bit by bit, we are actually creeping towards it. We're getting closer and closer to a future where conscription could be a reality. And this is yet another step where Germany, who at the moment is in the biggest military buildup since World War II, if you can remember what they did in World War II. But they've had a kind of, they've had a shit military since then. And especially in the last 10, 15 years, it's been Ubershit, Uberscheißen. For those of you who sprechen the Deutsch, it's been totally shit. And they've realized this. They've just realized it. They've had the wind put up them by what Russia is doing in Ukraine. And they've gone, oh, Scheißen, let's build an army. Let's do it now. They're not as fast or as hardcore as the Japanese are right now, but they're not. More war drums I hear are beating, my friends. We'll get on to Turkey in a serious situation. I don't want to. The reason I haven't been pumping this, most of you will know if you've listened to me before, that I am very interested in what happens in northern Syria, especially in the Rojava region, because it's an area that I've operated in before. I've met the people, I've hung there. I know what it's like. And I just feel it gets shit on a lot by the mainstream media or totally ignored. So I like to bring out information that's going on there. I haven't been doing a lot of stuff because I don't want to add to the doom and gloom. I've been touching in on mainstream media, what they've been talking about on this. Basically, they just go, it's like fear porn extended. They slap up, this is how many people are dead. Isn't this horrible? Here's some pictures of it. Done. I'm like, what the fuck does that do for anyone? Why would you do that to someone? How about, hey, here's the response that's happening. Here's the countries that are sending people in there to rescue other people, to help out. Oh, by the way, Australia's not one of them. That's the dogs barking, so that's my signal to go very, very quickly. So I'm going to wrap this up in 30 seconds or less. No, it won't be. It'll be about a minute and a half. So here's this story. Turkey was actually very harsh in their rhetoric against what was happening. They were throwing out some real shade on the US. So there is a big tinfoil hat conspiracy here that Turkey was coming out and saying, US, you're shit. You know, we're not letting Sweden and Finland into NATO, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, boom, earthquake hits, and everyone's like, ooh, ooh, ooh. Well, those who believe that maybe the US is harnessing some sort of technology that can create earthquakes, they're starting to look at this and go, that's a coincidence, not. Anyway, that's my tinfoil hat theory for the day. I'm not going to go into that story too much, but just look into it. Here's a little thought that I want to leave you with, because I've been seeing this one bounce up on social media, on mainstream media channels. And I just want to flash this one up to you. A lot of people, like the balloon that went over the US recently, some people said, look, that could be used for an EMP attack. And I 100% agree with that. It could be used for an EMP attack. And I think that EMP attack would be devastating. A lot of people have been coming out and saying, nah, it's not going to be that big of a deal. It doesn't really matter. It would knock out some electronics and that would be it. I firmly believe these people have not studied the effects of an EMP. This report came out that says 90% of the US would die from Chinese EMP attack from a space balloon. This is according to Brigadier General Pat Ryder from the US. I think that is closer to the truth. I think people who say that an EMP attack would have negligible effects have no understanding of how reliant they are on electricity right now. I would almost hazard a guess that within 24 to 48 hours of an EMP attack, 15% of any population in a developed country would be dead. And within 3 weeks, I think 90% is not hyperbole. It's not scaremongering. I think it is closer to realistic than you would think. And I actually think it is maybe even a little cautious in its estimation. But if you want to know more about that, I would really recommend a book called 1 Second After. 1 Second After, which was a book by William R. Forstchen, Forstchen, William R. Forstchen, who actually wrote in 2004 a report for the US government called the Report of the Commission to Assess the Threat to the United States from Electromagnetic Pulse Attack. So check that dude out. Check that book out. The book is, what would you call it? Fiction. It's a fiction. But he makes it up. He goes, or he's making up this story built around what he has researched, what he knows. He goes, this is what would happen. And I think that would be really eye-opening. Okay, that's it for today, gang. Thank you very much for joining me. I really appreciate it. So just quickly trying to catch up with some of these comments here. No, there's too many. I'm sorry, I've lost. But yeah, thanks for the comments. Really appreciate it. I hope you're all doing well. I hope that you're all prepping and continuing to store up the staples of life, things like food, make sure that you've got your water sorted, make sure you got your shelter sorted, especially thinking about what has just happened in Turkey and Syria. What if you were dislocated from your home? If your home was, or not just dislocated from your home, if your home no longer existed? 1 minute, you're in a home. 3.5 minutes later, you're out in the street in your vehicle and there is nothing left of your house. Might you want to have some preps for that? Might you want to have some sort of grab bag for that? I would suggest you do. So continue on with these preps that you're doing. Really think about this sort of stuff. And remember, as always, get in the garden. It's a nice sunny day today. So I'm going to go work on my tomatoes because they are pumping at the moment. So going to get out there. But apart from that, actually, I'm going to teach some people how to clean guns. Apart from that, that is it. And I'll see you on the next one. Thank you very much. And Semper Paratus.